Hey guys, what's up? Evrelia here. I just wanted to do a quick video to talk to you guys about some of the changes to Warlocks in patch 5.4 for those of you that haven't been keeping track of where we are currently. First of all, let's talk about the new trinkets. Now for those of you who don't know, there's two interesting new trinkets. One of them is a stacking Wushalay style trinket, which does intellect, but it doesn't do it every couple of seconds. It does it based on how often you cast, so you can stack it up really quickly with Malefic Grasp if you're spam casting it over and over again. Now the other more interesting one is the amplification trinket. Now this is 84% increased crit damage, mastery, and haste while it's active for 20 seconds, and it is overpowered as fuck. Now if you take a look at this example here, this is how much I burst with Throne of Thunder trinkets. Okay, now look at this one, and this is how much I burst with the new trinkets, and bear in mind these are only a few eye levels higher, but look how big a DPS difference there are between them. It is insane, and people have been reporting damage of over 900k burst with these trinkets, this amplification trinket paired with UVLS, so it's pretty crazy. You can probably expect that they're either going to have a really low PPM or they'll be nerfed pretty hard. Now in addition to that, there's a few new changes. Soul Swap is now more of a utility spell compared to what it was before. It now keeps the dot strength when you pull it off the target, but it doesn't increase the duration, so this means you can transfer really strong dots from one target to another, but you can't use it to extend it indefinitely like you used to be able to do with the Soul Swap buck. Now this only applies to non-Soul Burn Soul Swap. There have been some nerfs to shard generation in multi-target. We've had it buffed from a 5% to a 10% base single target, however it only takes the proc chance from the most recently applied corruption. So this means on those fights where you have tons and tons of corruptions out and you're getting tons and tons of shards back, that is not gonna happen anymore because you can only get shards from your latest applied corruption, so that's gonna be a pretty heavy nerf in multi-target situations. Now similarly, they've also nerfed Ember Generation from Rain of Fire, which is a nerf to Destro a single target, but more importantly it's a nerf to Destro in mass AoE situations. So in a fight like Primordius before, where you could blanket the room in Rain of Fires and you could have more Embers than you could possibly spend even if you spam Chaos Bolts all day, now you're not going to have that, so enjoy. Destro is actually looking in a really bad place right now until they buff Ember Generation in other ways, which they have said they're going to do, but they haven't indicated how they're going to do that as of yet. Now in addition to that, our level 90 talents, if you haven't been keeping tabs, Kil'jaeden's Cunning now works all the time and with no snare effect, but only for Malefic Grasp, Shadow Bolt and Incinerate, so your filler spells. Now this is a nerf to the execute phase because Drain Soul and Soulfire are not included, but it is a buff outside of the execute phase because there is no longer any snare. Manoros Fury now increases damage dealt by 100% whilst active in addition to its previous effect, and it lasts for 10 seconds and has a 60-second cooldown. So this means it's absolutely amazing and essential for AoE fights, and for demonology it may even be taken for single target fights because using Immolation Aura with Manoros Fury up is likely to be a DPS gain. They're also talking about changing Archimonde's Vengeance, so they haven't actually described how that's going to be changed yet, although Ghostcrawler did hint on Twitter that they're going to do something related to Vengeance, so that could be pretty interesting, but it's early days yet, who knows. Now there have been a few other changes to the class, and I'm just going to run over those really quickly. Fell Armor no longer reduces all damage taken by 10%. Now this might feel like a big nerf to our survivability, and it is, but they have also nerfed the same effects for Shadow Priest and for Boomkin, so it's not a specific Warlock targeted nerf, although we will definitely feel that in PvP. Okay, they've also removed Hal of Terror of a talent, which is now baseline, so all Warlocks can use Hal of Terror, so yay for that. We now have Demonic Breath, which basically is Shadow Flame. It sends a cone of shadow damage in front with a 20-second cooldown, and it snares all targets that it hits, so it is just the old version of Shadow Flame again. Now they have also actually nerfed Soul Leech. Now it will activate from Shadow Burn now instead of just from Chaos Bolt, but it now caps at 15% of your health. So whereas before, where you could build up massive Soul Leech shields, like 600,000, and end up with an effective health pool of like 1.5 million, you can't do that anymore. Now this is actually a big nerf to Warlock soloing, and in addition to that they've also made it so the debuff from using a Demonic Gateway is now 60 seconds instead of 15, so you can't use a gateway more than once every minute. Now this doesn't change too much for soloing, but it can make fights like the Lich King a little bit more tricky, because it's not going to be frequent enough to stop you getting hit by the Valkyr. And finally, Fel Flame now deals more damage, costs less mana, but does not increase the duration of damage over time effects anymore. Now the reason they've done this is because they want you to be able to have something that you can cast whilst moving if you don't have Kil'jaeden's Cunning, because they don't want you to feel like you have to take Kil'jaeden's Cunning. Now this does suck a little bit because Fel Flame is actually occasionally useful in PvE. Sometimes you want to refresh your dots using Fel Flame and you don't want to use Soulburn Soul Swap for it. These situations are pretty rare, but it's still nice to have the option there. So they did say they may add this back in as a glyph next patch. Now, there have been other changes to the class on the PTR, but we are looking at a pretty good state in terms of demonology, particularly because it doesn't look like they're actually going to nerf the Lei Shen trinket, which means demonology is going to be very, very, very strong in Siege-of-Orgrimmar. Certainly a lot stronger than Destruction is, and quite a bit stronger than Affliction. So my advice is, if you don't already know how to play demonology, now is the time to learn it. Now, of course, this could change between now and when the patch comes out, but this is how Warlocks currently look on the PTR.